Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of Costa Rica Real Talk, Costa Rica Real Estate's podcast on all things real estate and Costa Rica. Today we're joined once again by Todd Cutter, managing broker of Costa Rica Real Estate. How are you doing, Todd?
I'm doing great. And yourself, Alonzo?
I'm doing pretty good as well. It's nice to go back to basics, to our original setup, you and I just talking about Costa Rican lifestyle.
Absolutely, where it all got started. It's been great to watch the progress of the podcast over the past year, so it's great to be back.
It's great to have you. Today we're going to focus on one of perhaps the most iconic aspects of Costa Rican lifestyle, some would say, but at the same time, one that's perhaps underrepresented at times when people talk about, usually they first think about like the paradisiacal beaches, like the landscapes in the jungle and everything like that. But the communal feel of Costa Rican lifestyle really, one thing can be really grasped going simply to the farmer's market. Perhaps to start off, what was your first impression as a foreigner? Well, you've been living here for more than 20 years. You're a tico by now. But initially, when you came here, like in the late 90s, the first impression of the local farmers market, how it differs to what your conceptions of what it was in the U.S.
Sure. I mean, I think coming from the U.S., I went to college in Boulder, Colorado, and there were, Boulder, Colorado is very much a progressive community, a hippie community in many ways. And there were farmers markets on the weekend, but the farmers market in the U.S. tends to be a more expensive place to buy the newest organic version of some fruit, vegetable, or meat product that has come to market. And so, frankly, I had never been to a farmer's market. It's not something that really ever attracted me. And I remember first coming to Costa Rica. I lived on the coast for many years, and I never went to a farmer's market there because it wasn't part of my culture. And when I came to live in the city, I remember the first experience going to the market. It was overwhelming in a positive sense. I mean, number one, the amount of people that were there. Number two, really kind of turning back the clock, so to speak, and going back to the basics like we talked about with the podcast. For me, a visit to the farmer's market is really a step back in time. It's really a way to connect with the local population, to get back to the basics in local food products and the greatest fruits and vegetables at affordable pricing. And it's a great way to really immerse yourself into the culture of Costa Rica.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. Also, considering what you were mentioning about the difference of what constitutes like a farmer's market, it's not really like this like aura of exclusivity. It's like really like the grassroots idea of like community, just like people going and sharing their produce and like everyone connecting in some way to be at least like kind of like direct economy in a way.
Yeah, and it's interesting, now that I've got this habit of going every weekend, it's really a sense of community. And the farmers market, in the true sense of its word in Costa Rica, is just that. The farmers show up. I think they have to be there at 3 a.m. To set up their space. There's delineated spaces along, depending on which market you go to, 1 block, 2 blocks, 3 or 4 blocks long. And they get there at 2, 3 in the morning and they start to set up all of their things. And you'll have some people that come in from the mountains of Cartago and some people that come in from the mountains up near Poas volcano, where the strawberries, for example, most of the strawberries will come from. And what I find most interesting is, regardless of where you're from, and even myself as a foreigner, you make great connections with these farmers who come in and they see you every weekend and they ask about your kids and they ask about how work is going and vice versa. And you really get to connect with people in what I would say, a much slower pace of life than what most of us are accustomed to. I for one, certainly, I run hard all week long at work. And the farmer's market, that 1 to 2 hour time span that I spend there is a space where I never look at my watch. I never look at the clock. I'm never worried about what's going on around me. And I truly try to connect to that space and the community that I've found at the farmer's market.
Yeah, now that you mention it, also like the idea of like time slowing down also goes hand in hand with experience. It's literally like the antithesis of like the supermarket experience, where everything's already preordained, everything's already ready set for you just to grab something and go out of your way. Here, like the mere architecture of the space, you need to go like stand by stand. You even, I guess, everyone that likes their fresh produce will look at every single fruit, which one is more mature, which one's like best fits their own taste. So literally, as you mentioned, it's like a 2-hour process of getting like the best you can get, but also knowing that you have the time to chat with the farmer, ask him like, hey, how is this like mangoes growing, or like those kind of minutia usually gets lost in the process of like modern society.
It's a great point. When I go to the grocery store, I try to get in and out as fast as possible. The aisles are set up that way. I know I'm going for produce, I go to this aisle. If I'm going for meats, I go here, and you try to get in and out as quickly as possible. At the farmer's market, I specifically designate a time of my morning where I make no plans. I don't worry about my phone ringing. I guess fortunately or unfortunately, my wife and daughters never like to join me in this venture. So it's my space, and it's my space and time. And you hit the nail on the head. You really are able to disconnect from the culture and that revolves so often around a speedy entry and exit for whatever it is that we're doing in life. And when I go to the farmer's market, the very first thing that I do is I walk the entire market before I buy anything. And I refuse to buy anything along the way. Part of it because I want to take my time. And the fact that I'm not carrying anything allows me to go a little bit slower, and it allows me to observe. And yeah, I like to watch because unlike the supermarket where there's one provider at the market, there's 10 people that sell strawberries. There's 10 people that sell potatoes. And so I like to peruse through who has the best options that day and look at the pricing, and yes, negotiate a little bit on pricing. And you end up, after going many times, having your certain provider who sells you the guanabana, which is the sour sop, or the potato, or the strawberry, or the grapefruit, or the mango. And so you find your friendly providers that provide you with good pricing, and they certainly connect with you on a personal level as well.
One interesting aspect that, considering like the evolution of Costa Rica as a destination, also has to do with what I've seen, at least, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, like the adoption process of like going to farmers market by foreigners or like expats here in Costa Rica. How would you describe that process of, because it's like can be jarring if you're coming from a big city, from like Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, and here you're like bartering for every 100 colones you can get off. Like the whole experience of it's like can be a very abrupt change of mindset.
Yeah, I think there's two phases. What I've seen for most foreigners that live in Costa Rica, there is the phase one, which is the phase of intimidation. Going to this new space, and for a lot of foreigners who may or may not speak the language, interacting in a process that's not barcode driven, right? Mm-hmm. Anyone can walk into the supermarket, grab their items, put it over the counter, keep their mouth shut, and pass their credit card over to the cashier or self-checkout. And so I think a lot of foreigners have that initial disconnect, and maybe they don't want to go because they're worried about how their interactions are going to be. And then I see every weekend that I go more and more foreigners there, and you see this level of intrigue and excitement by the foreigners that walk through that experience. Beyond calling it a market, it really is an experience, sight, sound, smell, where people are walking through, and you see. I mean, it's the typical scene of a tourist, right? Walking through. Oh my God, look at the strawberries! Oh my God, you got to check this out! I've never seen that fruit before. What is it? And I think the excitement is mutual, because the farmers who see that level of excitement, which is not the norm, because most Costa Ricans already know the experience. They already know the produce, the fruits and vegetables, or whatever is being sold. And they love to share, and they love to tell their story. And even if there is a language barrier, you'll find that the farmers will try to describe it, or they'll pull up on their phone and show if it's an American or someone from Europe, they'll show them on their phone the translation and what it is. And they really enjoy sharing culture. I think, spreading across what I truly define the Costa Rican experience and the Costa Ricans in general. I've always described the Costa Ricans as a very proud people, proud of their country, proud of their experience, proud of the tourism atmosphere that they have created for foreigners in this welcoming environment. And the farmers market is an extension of that, and showing the farmers that true essence of Costa Rica, hundreds of years ago, coming out to share experiences with tourists. So highly recommend, certainly for any foreigner who hasn't gotten past the intimidation phase yet, to go out and explore it. It really is amazing.
Because it really is a cultural experience, because one can say like a tourist highlight might be, because it really puts you at the heart of what many people seem to seek out nowadays in terms of like their cultural experiences. Authenticity, as you mentioned, this is something like Ticos do like part of their weekly rituals, because it's like the cheaper way to get some products, and also you can, as you mentioned, like establish relationships and everything. So it really is like puts you in the environment of like how life is in Costa Rica.
Yeah, I mean, Costa Rica's changed in a lot of ways. I mean, I've been here for 26 years, and like anywhere in the world, there's change. And a lot of tourist experience, not just in Costa Rica, but globally, tend to be driven toward the newest trend and the coolest new building or the newest hotel with the coolest amenities and things like that. And it's a really unique part of the Costa Rican culture to have an experience that has nothing to do with advancements. Quite the contrary. It really is back to basics. I mean, I guess the most advanced you could say that's happened at the farmers market is you can now pay on your phone and send what's called a simpe, or a wire transfer over phone to some of the farmers who want to try to figure out more ways to sell more. But it really is just kind of the antithesis of evolution, and it goes back to the basics. And that cultural experience of walking through the market, and a lot of people that I know, both foreigners and locals, beyond going just to buy the produce, what you're seeing more and more now is there's stands there where you can actually sit down and eat. And so people will go and have a breakfast there and eat fresh eggs and the gallo pinto, or there is now a stand by Venezuelans and a stand from Colombians and Argentinians and expats from different parts of the world who are selling their local products there. So it's really just a bouillabaisse of this cultural diversity that starts really at the grassroots, as you said, with the Costa Rican culture, but very welcoming and mixing into all these different cultures and environment in a beautiful setting. Typically it takes place either on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning, depending on the location of choice where you're at. And it's early morning, so it's just a great way to start the day, have a fresh cup of coffee from someone who's brought the coffee in from their local farm, likewise with the local produce.
And also, as you mentioned, there's like a wide range of diversity in terms of like the kind of farmers market experiences you can have. It really depends on the location, so it isn't really like a homogeneous experience that, you're in San Jose and you go to a farmers market, you've seen everything. No, that's actually the contrary. If you go to the farmers market in around Nosara or Santa Teresa, and then you go to San Antonio, and then you go to a farmers market in the mountains near Heredia, every single experience is worth it, I will say, because it shows you like different aspects of like the local communities, and also like the kind of like ecosystem that they create. Some of them more like visited by expats and tourists, some of them even more like focused on the true like agricultural experience of Costa Rica. So it's a wide range you can explore as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been to about a dozen different farmers markets over the past 20 some odd years. And certainly I have my preferences about where I like to go. But you're right. I mean, you'll go to some that are, that because of their location may have more expats, may have more tourists come, and you'll always see them, certainly out with their cameras taking pictures of these just amazing representations of fruits and vegetables. You'll have others which I think are perhaps more local in their visitation, and different specific towns within Costa Rica have different cultures at their farmers market. As I mentioned, some have more expat, not just visitors, but expats who are actually exposing their products there. Others are not. Others are really well known. There's some that are really famous for the local tortilla, and you can go there and pick up your local tortilla, or a pupusa, an El Salvadorian treat that many people go to the one in Santana for example. And so it's just a unique experience to be able to explore. The grocery store experience is so homogenized now, and no matter where you are in the world, there's X amount of aisles, and it's organized in the same type of pattern with the products right by the register that they want the kids, to grab off of the shelf at the last minute. And getting back to something that frankly lacks order in some sense, and I say that in a positive way, that is just very simple in its outlay, yet very diverse depending on where you are. It's really an enriching experience.
And how would you say, like, to recommend to someone to find their own, like, the farmer market experience that caters towards their interests?
Yeah, I think you got to go out and just try different ones. I mean, I'll speak from my personal experience. So our office here is located in Escazú. I happen to live in the Escazú area. I've been to the farmers market in Escazú. It's less than a mile from my house, or 2 miles, I don't know exactly, but it's very close to my home. And it's most of the same vendors that go to the other farmers market that I visit, which is the one in Santana. However, the experience for me in Santana is much more pleasing. It tends to allow me to slow my pace. It's a bigger market. It's a little bit more spread out. There tends to be a little bit more diversity beyond the fruits and vegetables that are being sold. I always joke with people that go with me. There's a couple there from the Caribbean side of Costa Rica, and they sell almost like an empanada type of product called a pati, but they've got reggae music that's always on full blast, and they're the only ones playing music there. And for me, it's like I walk by and I say hi to them, and it's part of my experience. The one in Escazú for me is a little bit more of a fast pace. It's a smaller, more condensed space. So when I go there, I go and get what I need, I purchase it, and I get out, which is great for some people. But I think each person knows what experience they're really looking for. For me, it's the one moment in time in my 7-day week that I really slow down. And so for me, the market in Santana, the dynamics of it really work well for me to kind of force me to slow down that pace.
And to start running out the podcast, what are some of your favorite products to find in the farmers market? Your highlights of the Costa Rican farmer market experience?
Well, I mean, people that know me may joke I'm not the most adventurous as it comes to farmers market items and some of the Costa Rican fruits. My wife happens to be from Colombia, so she's a little bit more adventurous in the fruits and vegetables department. Fresh bananas for me, while it's not a very adventurous product, is a really important one. All of the different berries that you can find are critical. A lot of Costa Ricans, a very unique fruit to Costa Rica and to South America called the pejibaye. Not one of my personal favorites, but it's loved by the Costa Rican population. A lot of different ways that you can cook that up. Varieties of every type of melon that you can imagine, watermelons, grapefruit. And then just amazing vegetables. If you can look at 7 or 8 different types of lettuces you can buy. I really don't have a favorite. I go there and I buy way too much food that I need for the week because it's hard for me to resist the temptation of everything that I see there.
Yeah, because that's the other part of it. Like Costa Rica, because since it has this privileged location, like everything just like pops out to you, like.
Yeah, I mean, there's things that I've tried there, like what's called the sour sop in English, or the guanábana is a very famous fruit, and I'm sure most foreigners have never even seen it before. And again, to use the same term, can be very intimidating to the look, like a spiny green, fruit that's about the size of 2 heads put together, but inside it's extremely juicy. Delicious, delicious fruit to make a beverage in the morning. Some people will just peel it off and eat it raw. There's a long, long list of just amazing things. And again, most foreigners will be blown away because half of the things they see, they've never encountered before. And again, the farmers will open it up, peel it, let you try it on the site. And I just can't recommend enough for those of you who haven't been out there and for those who are coming to Costa Rica to certainly make sure that not just if you're coming here to live, but if you're coming as a tourist, to find the local farmers market where you're going to be traveling. It's an experience in and of itself.
Yeah, and just like by finding new experiences, culinary experiences, even if you don't enjoy that particularly, that's also like getting to know like a different beach, like a different jungle, like a different volcano. Like not every experience will be the same, and you'll have your favorites, but also I guess it's part of like getting to know the country, especially if you're thinking of living here. Like that's also like how will your Costa Rican diet be different from the one you had previously?
Absolutely. And walking through the farmers market, it's the perfect setting for anyone to really realize that living in Costa Rica can be truly an amazing lifestyle from a health perspective beyond, as you mentioned at the start of our podcast, the beautiful beaches, the beautiful volcanoes. It's really a place where you can care for yourself and live an amazing lifestyle.
Yeah, thanks so much. So, Todd, do you have any final comments or like recommendations for anyone thinking about embarking on this adventure?
Like everything in life, get comfortable with the uncomfortable, get out there and try it, go out there and check out your local farmers market.
Thanks, that's some great advice. Thanks again for going back to the podcast, Todd. If you enjoyed the conversation, you can follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, whichever platform to Costa Rica Real Estate is in, and you can listen to all our podcasts on your favorite streaming platform as well.